How to be selfish without being a jerk or feeling like one. If you're saying yes to everyone, you're saying no to yourself. You've been lied to about selfishness. You've been told that taking care of your own needs makes you a bad person, that boundaries are mean, and that good people always put others first. But here's what no one tells you. Self-sacrifice without self-care isn't noble, it's destructive. And the people who benefit from your endless giving are often the same ones calling you selfish when you finally set a boundary. Today we're redefining selfishness and giving you permission to protect your energy like the finite resource it is. We're covering 5 game changers. First, why saying no is actually respect, not rejection. Second, how people-pleasing is slowly killing your soul. Third, 4 ways to say no that are both polite and bulletproof. Fourth, how to rewire the guilt that's been programmed into you. And fifth, actual scripts you can use starting today. 1. Why saying no is self-respect, not selfishness. Let's start with something that might blow your mind. Saying no to others is saying yes to yourself. And that's not selfish, that's survival. Every yes you give when you mean no is a betrayal of your own needs, values, and energy. You're teaching people that your time isn't valuable. Your boundaries don't matter and your well-being is negotiable. You're also teaching yourself that everyone else's needs are more important than yours. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're guidelines for how you want to be treated. When you say no to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're not being mean. You're being honest about your capacity and clear about your values. Think about it this way. If someone asks you to borrow money you don't have, saying no isn't cruel, it's realistic. If someone asks for your time when you're already overwhelmed, saying no isn't rude. It's responsible. You can give what you don't have without depleting yourself. Maya Angelou said, "When people show you who they are, believe them." Well, when you show people that you have no boundaries, they'll believe that too, and they'll treat you accordingly. The most selfish thing you can do is say yes when you mean no, because eventually you'll resent the person you agreed to help, and that resentment will poison the relationship anyway. Honest boundaries prevent dishonest resentment. 2. How people-pleasing kills your energy. People-pleasing isn't kindness. It's addiction. You're addicted to approval, addicted to being needed, addicted to avoiding conflict. And like any addiction, it's slowly destroying your life while making you feel temporarily better. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're giving away a piece of your energy, your time, and your soul. You're living everyone else's life except your own. You're becoming a supporting character in your own story. People pleasers think they're being selfless, but actually they're being selfish in the worst way possible. They're so desperate for approval and so afraid of rejection that they'll sacrifice their own well-being to get it. That's not generosity. That's manipulation disguised as niceness. You say yes to things you hate because you want people to like you. You take on responsibilities that aren't yours because you want to feel important. You exhaust yourself helping others because you think that's the only way to have value. But here's the brutal truth. People don't respect doormats. They use them. The people who love the S version of you often disappear when you start saying no. And that tells you everything you need to know about why they were in your life in the first place. When you have no boundaries, you attract people who have no respect for boundaries. When you're always available, you attract people who don't value your time. When you never say no, you attract people who are comfortable taking advantage of that. 3, 4 ways to say no, politely and firmly. All right, let's get practical. Here are 4 bulletproof ways to say no that protect your energy without making you feel like a monster. Method 1, the simple no. I can't commit to that right now, period. No explanation needed. No justification required. You don't owe anyone a detailed breakdown of why you're unavailable. I can't is a complete sentence. Method 2, the alternative offer. I can't do X, but I can do Y. Maybe you can't help them move their entire house, but you can help them pack for 2 hours. Maybe you can't plan their entire event, but you can recommend someone who can. You're being helpful without being a doormat. Method 3, the future option. I can't help with this right now, but maybe I can in the future. This works when you actually might want to help later, just not now. It's honest about your current capacity while leaving the door open for later. Method 4, the firm redirect. That doesn't work for me, but I hope you find someone who can help. This is for the persistent askers who don't take hints. You're being polite but final. You're not their problem to solve, and their problem isn't yours to solve. Notice what all of these have in common. They're honest, they're direct, and they don't require you to lie or make excuses. You're not saying you're sick when you're not. You're not saying you're busy when you're actually just protecting your peace. 4, rewire the guilt. How to stop apologizing for having boundaries. The guilt you feel when you say no isn't natural, it's programmed. You've been conditioned to believe that disappointing others is worse than disappointing yourself. But that programming is broken, and it's time to rewrite it. First, stop apologizing for having limits. I'm sorry I can't because I can't. You don't apologize for not having money to lend. Don't apologize for not having energy to spare either. Second, remember that other people's reactions to your boundaries are not your responsibility. If someone gets angry when you say no, that's information about them, not instructions for you. Healthy people respect boundaries. Unhealthy people get mad at them. Third, understand that guilt is often misplaced empathy. You feel bad because you imagine how disappointed they'll be, but you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You're responsible for managing your own capacity, as Brené Brown says. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. The key word there is courage. It takes courage to disappoint someone in the moment to save the relationship in the long run. The guilt you feel for setting a boundary is smaller than the resentment you'll feel for not setting it. Choose your hard, the temporary discomfort of saying no, or the long-term resentment of saying yes when you meant no. 5, practice lines you can use today. Let's give you some actual scripts you can use starting today, because knowing what to say in the moment makes all the difference. For work requests, I'd love to help, but I'm at capacity this week. Let me know if this is still needed next week and I'll see what I can do. For social invitations you don't want. Thanks for thinking of me, but I won't be able to make it. Hope you have a great time. For family obligations, I understand this is important to you, but I won't be able to participate. I hope it goes well. For people asking for favors, I wish I could help, but I'm not available for that right now. For persistent people who won't take no for an answer, I've already given you my answer. Asking again won't change it. For people who try to guilt you, I understand you're disappointed, but my decision isn't going to change. Practice these out loud. Practice them in the mirror. Practice them until they feel natural, because in the moment when someone is pressuring you, you want these responses to be automatic. Remember, you can be kind and firm at the same time. You can be polite and immovable. You can care about someone and still protect your own energy. All right, time for tough love conclusion. This is going to sting, but set you free. You're not being kind when you say yes and mean no. You're being a coward. You think you're being nice, but actually you're being dishonest. You're lying to other people about your capacity and you're lying to yourself about your limits, you're choosing the temporary comfort of avoiding conflict over the long-term health of your relationships and your sanity. Your people-pleasing isn't protecting anyone, it's enabling them. You're teaching people that they don't need to be considerate of your time because you'll always say yes anyway. You're teaching them that your needs don't matter because you act like they don't. And here's the part that really hurts. The people who truly love you don't want you to sacrifice your well-being for them. They want you happy, healthy, and whole. The people who get upset when you set boundaries, they're upset because they're losing access to someone they can exploit. Stop calling it kindness when it's really just conflict avoidance. Stop calling it generosity when it's really just fear of rejection. Stop calling it love when it's really just people-pleasing addiction. You are not responsible for everyone else's happiness at the expense of your own. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, and you are not selfish for having needs, wants, and limits. Your energy is your life force. Stop giving it away to people who wouldn't do the same for you. Here's your challenge for this week. Say no to one thing you would normally say yes to, just one thing. Practice using one of the scripts we talked about today. Pay attention to how it feels. Notice the guilt that comes up and remind yourself that it's programming, not truth. Notice how the world doesn't end when you protect your energy. Start small, but start today. Your future self is counting on you to stop being everyone else's doormat and start being your own advocate. If this video gave you permission to finally put yourself first, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're building a community of people who refuse to apologize for having boundaries. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one thing you're going to say no to this week? Let's practice protecting our energy together. Remember, you're not selfish for having standards. You're not mean for having limits. And you're not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions while neglecting your own. Until next time, stop saying yes when you mean no and start living unapologetically.